I have not loved this
Please
conversation.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
The Nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Monday. Hopefully everybody had a decent Christmas. Decent, if not good. Although, you know, some of you, from what I'm seeing in the chat, haven't. Yeah, I'm just going to start the show with condolences to one of my viewers, Sarge Tech, who just recently lost his mother. So I'm really, really sorry to hear that. My condolences to you and your family. That's pretty awful. So yeah, this is really sad. So I'm so sorry. That sucks. All right. Anyway, and you know, it ain't easy losing someone that you love and care about. And you know, she was somebody who really enjoyed the show, and I was glad I was able to bring her any sort of enjoyment out of this this terribly messed up period of time in our lives. But I'm always happy that I can bring some joy and hope to people, as well as giving them the news. So yeah, my heart goes out to you, 100%. I'm very, very sorry. All right. Anyway. We do have some, I guess, sort of good news today that we're going to go over around the show. We're going to talk about, of course, the stimulus. We've got a couple stories on that, actually. We have Republicans trying to blow up the Georgia race. We have PragerU that's literally goes pro-slavery. And then Mike Pence thinks making poor people comfortable is bad. So a lot of people digging the beard. Which is nice. By the way, before you get started here, John's Venn diagram of desire. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. 3 months. That is a nice streak. So thank you. That goes to help the show. Yeah, I'm a little late to that pro-slavery video, guys, but I'm gonna get to it because it is really a primo mask off moment. All right, so. Oh, yeah, by the way, tagged in the post, but we need this to be a segment. Conservatives use Jurassic Park as an argument against trans rights and trans people. I did see that over the weekend, actually. One of my friends, Tiffany Starr, is in that video. And she's she's arguing against that guy when he makes this ridiculously stupid argument. And so I saw that. That is one of the most ridiculous arguments I've ever seen. I lost IQ points when listening to that. Really just, wow. Wow. So yeah, what a ridiculous, totally ridiculous argument. Maybe I'll talk about that on another show. Maybe I'll do a do a segment on that. I might even go and be a part of a debate. So I'm like debating whether or not I want to start debating. I mean, because there's some really, really ridiculous arguments out there that conservatives are making. I've never heard that one. I've never heard that one. Stupidity finds a way. So, oof. They're against slave rebellion. I know, right? You know what? Why don't we save that? We'll get to that here in a moment. Okay. Amazing. All right. Anyway, so I guess you know what? Why don't we just start out with the big news of the day, and that is stimulus. But before we do, please like and share the stream. Very helpful if you do. Very, very important that you help out by doing so. That's one of the biggest ways to get the progressive message out there. Yeah, Aaron, Dylan Burns' channel. Yep, that's right. I believe it's called the Hippy Dippy Podcast, which I had never heard of before. But apparently they've been hosting some very interesting debates on there, featuring that, what is it, like some conservative veteran, which again makes no sense because really in reality you would think that a veteran would be more progressive because because the military is actually really a giant socialist program. But anyway, I don't know. It's so strange. But anyway, let's just do that. No, we're gonna get to PragerU. We're gonna get to PragerU. But yeah, I might consider doing a debate on that channel, but also something that I do plan on doing very soon, the next time it happens, is taking part of the Lefty Among Us games that's being hosted by the Surfs. So they do some pretty great work over there, and those games look pretty fun. So I've been invited to the next one, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll let you guys know when that is. Ravaging Wolverine, thank you so much for subscribing with Prime. Give me those Bezos bucks. Love it. All right. Let's do it. It looks like President Donald Trump has officially caved on the $900 billion stimulus bill, along with the $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill. Now, this is after, of course, spending the weekend golfing and complaining and, then saying that, oh, well, I want $2,000 stimulus, checks. Well, we all do, really. But the problem is you have Republicans that are saying, no, we don't want those $2,000 stimulus checks. So now there's good news and bad news with this. All right, well, obviously the good news is that people with unemployment benefits that have just run out get a small measure of relief, okay? I mean, yes, it's not very much. It's $300 in additional unemployment benefits until mid-March. So that's not a lot. That's it's still gonna help people, but it's nowhere near exactly what we need. Now, you also have $600 stimulus checks that are supposed to start going out this week, or they say this week, but we know how much of the disaster the first rollout was, and so I wouldn't expect it for at least a couple weeks, personally. But who knows, right? Maybe they will. Maybe they learned their lesson last time, and we'll get those checks out faster. I don't know. Obviously, most of the legislation was geared towards the Paycheck Protection Program. Hopefully, some small businesses will be able to grab some cash before the larger ones swoop in and take the rest of it. But we'll see. Now, the bad news is that it was because of the delay, in which we got no concessions for, by the way. So, okay, if there were a delay and we ended up getting $2,000 stimulus checks, well, that would have been an overall win, right? That would have at least been better than what we have. Instead, we just have the $600. There's basically no change at all. And so now unemployment has been exhausted, which means that everybody who still has it has to go out and refile, which of course will delay them in getting the checks. And so that could end up taking weeks to receive. And so that's another delay the American people have to suffer, who are already suffering massively. Now, the other thing that I've been harping on the whole time, this whole negotiation, is the fact that this isn't near enough. We need, this is barely survival money. You can't really call it stimulus. It's survival money, and it's barely even survival money. And so you have a situation where you need about $70 billion in like what, that's how much we have in back rent. Okay, we need more than $70 billion to address the rent crisis in this country. Well, there was only $25 billion that was allocated to this in this stimulus bill, which means you still have to make up about $45 billion, which not good, right? That's not nearly enough. And the $600 checks, along with the $300 additional unemployment benefits, is not going to solve that massive rent crisis, much less people being backed up on utilities, people not being able to afford food, people not having health care, health insurance during a raging pandemic. And so it is a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. And that's what I've been saying. But nonetheless, it's a tiny little measure of help. But it's just not going to be enough. All right. That said, bad news also in this. It makes unauthorized streaming of copyrighted material a felony. Yes. See, that was something, this was a story that I was going to do with Lance of the Serfs, since he is a streamer and would be affected by this. I also do streaming myself, and so I would also possibly be affected by this. And so let me explain that. As TechCrunch reports, the bill includes a proposal from Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, who has, by the way, received a ton of money from the entertainment industry, that would make illegal streaming for profit a felony, rather than just a misdemeanor, with penalties of up to 10 years in prison. Yikes. Yikes. Wow. Way to stick it to the Twitch streamers? The very powerful Twitch streaming lobby. Shit. That's all I can say. Not good. The bill also includes something called the CASE Act, which creates a new copyright claims board within the U.S. Copyright Office. This system has been compared to a small claims court with the ability to adjudicate copyright claims and order payments of up to $30,000 for anybody who breaks that. I wonder if that court will be biased towards corporations or not. Yes. Very wonder. I wonder. No, we all know. We all know. We all know what's going to happen. But then again, maybe it might not be that bad. I don't know. The Open Internet Intellectual Property Nonprofit Public Knowledge released a statement saying that, well, even though there's no need for further criminal penalties of copyright infringement, at least the bill is narrowly tailored and avoids criminalizing users and does not criminalize streamers who may include unlicensed works as part of their streams. Instead, they say it focuses on those who pirate for commercial gain. The problem, again, is that in this legislation, the wording is pretty vague, and so I have a feeling that it could end up possibly harming streamers anyway. So we don't necessarily know. In fact, this is why the ACLU and the Electronic Frontier Foundation said that it will probably or likely have a negative impact on individual internet users. In fact, TechDirt's Mike Masnick argued that it will supercharge copyright trolling exactly at a time when we need to fix the law to have less trolling. But so yeah, more trolling. Great, wonderful, awesome. Expect more. I would say, look out for more DMCA takedowns. And so that's what I'm getting from this. Maybe again, I might be wrong, but the fact that it's so broad means that we've got to really be careful about this. All right, I've already been hit with copyright, and this is before this bill was passed. Okay, so I'd been hit with copyright before on doing segments about 60 minutes. 60 minutes, right? Where they'll sit down with a politician and ask them questions, like or Betsy DeVos. I was hit with not DMCA takedowns, but copyright. And so I'm rather concerned about this, not just when it comes to like ads and things like that, and making money off videos, which is obviously really important, as well as because that keeps the channel afloat, but also like the fact that we can't do those segments anymore, and talk about things that politicians are actually saying. That said, at least there's C-SPAN, which is always open to use, but just to my fellow streamers, please be careful. This is not good. So now, getting back to the rest of the stimulus bill, what changed Donald Trump's mind on this? I mean, that's a good question, right? Because I thought that he was strong, that he was resolute. He wasn't going to stop until he was going to give Americans $2,000 checks. Well, according to Axios, in the intervening days between Trump's Twitter video and his ultimate decision to sign the package, Trump insiders, including Steve Mnuchin, Kevin McCarthy, and Senator Lindsey Graham, indulged the president's rants, because of course, told him that there was great stuff in the bill, which there really isn't, and gave him wins he could announce, even though there was no changes to the bill. They also, according to Mike Allen of Axios, appealed to his vanity. Ah, yes. That the president's confidants finally convinced him that, quote, he had gotten all there was to get from the negotiations. He added that negotiating with a cranky, stubborn President Trump was like being a hostage negotiator or defusing a bomb. Well, I mean, there you go. And now, here's the other thing, and to be completely fair, right? If you defund the government by not signing a piece of legislation to fund the government, well, then you're going to do harm too during a pandemic. It's already bad enough when the government shuts down in any other normal time. But during a pandemic, well, that's also not good. But at the same time, obviously, and I've been reporting this for a while, the omnibus was filled with garbage. Just nonsensical, unneeded stuff. $500 million to Israel. Now, Israel doesn't need it. They're doing all right. They're big boys. They can stand up for themselves now. Okay? They're doing really well. And so, no, we don't need to fund their missile defense systems anymore, okay? We don't need to put more money into the Pentagon. We don't need to do any of that stuff. There's enough. There's enough, right? We also don't need to put in the streamer thing that I mentioned, or a lot of this corporate welfare that was given out. And as I said, the stimulus, again, that stimulus doesn't really stimulate anything. It's a basic survival check. And it's, again, the Band-Aid on the gushing wound, okay? But in the end, of course, Donald Trump didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, they tied stimulus to the omnibus. They tried to package it all in one must-pass thing, and it passed with a veto-proof majority. The next step the House would take is to override a presidential veto. The Senate would do the same thing, and it would just waste time. And so, I mean, that said, like, they, yes, will be coming soon. Is it too little, too late? Obviously. It's like 9 months too late. But at the same time, I mean, again, it will help people. There are people that will benefit from this, normal people, at least, that will keep them afloat for a little while longer. I just, again, it should have been a lot more, should have been a lot sooner. And maybe, I don't know, maybe the House and the Senate can get it together to pass a $2,000 stimulus. I don't know. Maybe. All right. In fact, let's talk about that too. All right. Despite the fact that President Donald Trump ended up caving on his demand to increase the stimulus payments to all eligible Americans to about $2,000 a person, that is up from $600 in return for signing the stimulus/omnibus bill, it appears that Congress is still going to come back today, actually, to vote for an increase. And there's some bipartisan support here. So I wouldn't get too hopeful, but there's a little bit of hope, tiny bit. And so we're gonna have to see. All right, so let's get into it now. According to different sources, Trump, and we know this, it's a timeline of events in which Donald Trump first criticized the $900 billion bipartisan bill. I criticized it as well as the $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill. So now this is after both chambers of Congress did this quote unquote bipartisan compromise in which, look, nobody got what they wanted except for Mitch McConnell, essentially. Mitch McConnell still got almost everything he wanted except for corporate liability, which was one of the big things that he was going for. Now, that said, the Democrats did not get $1,200 stimulus checks. They didn't get $600 unemployment. They gave up a lot. And that just shows that the Democrats never negotiate from a strengthened position. They always negotiate from a weaker position because they suck at negotiation, but also because Mitch McConnell is actually a lot better at negotiation as well. And besides, Mitch McConnell has no qualms, no scruples about holding the American people hostage. Now, we've seen this ever since I started politics. Ever since I started covering politics, Mitch McConnell's had the same MO. Hold people hostage in order to get the shit that he wants, which normally, again, hurts the American people. So, all right, anyway, all that we know. So now, the president opposed this deal. He called it a disgrace. I showed you the video for only including that $600 in direct payments. Here's what he said, quote, "I simply want to get our great people $2,000. Well, did he do that? No, he did not. Now, Democratic Party did seize on this a little bit. So you had Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Ilhan Omar, and many others, right, that have decided to call Donald Trump on his bluff. And they did. And then even when Donald Trump backed down, they're saying, no, we're going to continue to push this. In fact, Nancy Pelosi had a unanimous consent vote. That failed on Friday. And now she's doing another parliamentary trick. And what that is that she is calling for an immediate vote, not a voice vote, but a normal vote, which would require 2/3 of the chamber to win. I'm sorry, to pass it in order for this to pass through to the Senate. Now, the thing about that is that a bad strategy? Because you might have more Democrats as well as all Republicans, because you're going to need Republican votes on that to get this through the House. Now, the reason that she did that is that it moves the vote up sooner, right? At least that's what her motivation is, from as far as I can tell, anyway. And again, I'm trying to be the most fair that I can here on this. And not like go into saying, oh, yeah, she wants it to fail. Oh, yeah. I don't know that. I don't know Nancy Pelosi. And so that vote's going to be held today. And so, okay. Now, absent here is somebody who's really important. And that's Joe Biden. Where's Joe Biden? Where's Joe Biden? Where is he? Oh, right. Joe Biden is actually responsible for pushing for lower payments. This is according to a report in the Daily Poster by David Sirota, Andrew Perez, and I believe Walker Bragman. They analyzed a report from the New York Times in which Joe Biden, in the midst of the negotiations on December 2nd, went and threw his support behind the $900 billion plan that was being pushed by the centrists, people like Joe Manchin, right, who thought the $2,000 was probably too much, or $1,200 was too much. Biden also called the process of negotiating a bill, quote, a model for the challenging work ahead for our nation. Okay, so wait. Now, folding on Republican demands during the negotiation, during the financial crisis of the century, is somehow a model for the nation of how things are supposed to work. No, that's terrible. And so Joe Biden, what are you doing, dude? I know. He came out recently and said, well, I'm never going to embarrass Republicans. Isn't it so great that we have a moderate a centrist Republican as president now, as opposed to crazy Republican Donald Trump. I mean, essentially, right? This is essentially the same thing. All right, so anyway, I should just now refer to Joe Biden as basically a Republican. Because he is. Just not one of the insane people. He's like one of those people who are the Republicans from he's like a 1980s Republican, essentially, who's okay with gay people. That's what it is. That's what it is. So now, that said, Donald Trump has been pushing $2,000 checks. He's still talking about $2,000 checks. And so, as a result of that, you've had some Republicans that did flip on this. In fact, the president said some Republicans have agreed to a new vote on $2,000 stimulus checks. On Monday, the House will vote to increase payments to individuals from $600 to $2,000. He wrote in a statement announcing his decision. Therefore, he said a family of four would receive about $5,200. That's good. So now, again, Republicans voted against unanimous consent in the House. It only took one Republican to crush that vote. So now, as I said, the other way that they're getting this to work would require two-thirds of the House. It expedites the vote, and so it makes it very immediate. But at the same time, you actually need Republicans to cross over. So now, you don't need that many Republicans to cross over, but just enough of them to make two-thirds. So now, that said, is it expected to pass the House? I would think so. But here's the thing, okay? Republicans, along with this, there are some Republicans that are like, okay, $2,000 checks, but we're going to add something into it. Now, this is not part of the legislation that is being pushed on the floor by Nancy Pelosi. This is a standalone bill that she's saying. All she's putting on the floor is, let's get clean $2,000 checks. The amendment is already written, okay? And so it's ready to go. It is a standalone piece of legislation, and they're going to vote on it. They're not tacking anything onto that. So that's good. All we were asking for was a clean bill. And it looks like we're going to get that. All right? But there are Republicans that want to add to it. Now, what would they want to add to it? Well, it's something that Donald Trump really wants. And that is getting rid of Section 230. All right. Now, Section 230, Telecommunications Act of 1996, is basically a liability shield that protects social media companies when, for being held liable for the things that its users say. Okay? So I think, generally, this is a good thing. I don't think Twitter should be held liable for my tweets calling, Louis Gohmert a fuckface. All right? Why? Because I'm calling him a fuckface. Twitter's not calling him a fuckface. So why should Twitter be held liable if, Louis Gohmert gets offended because I called him a fuckface? Because he's a fuckface. It's stupid. It's stupid. So why would you want to get rid of Section 230? Well, there's a few reasons why somebody would want to. For one, politicians. They don't like it when somebody calls them a fuckface. I know, right? They're scared of people being... Like, there are Republicans right now that are scared of Donald Trump speaking out and tweeting against them, right? Because then they're going to get all the MAGA followers that are going to rip them to shreds in the comment section, right? And tweet quote tweets and tweet replies and all that stuff. They don't want that. But there are also Republicans that are afraid of people like AOC for the same reason. And so these politicians, a lot of these politicians are really afraid. And it's not just Republicans, it's Democratic politicians as well. The establishment, they really don't like how people on social media can hold them accountable. And so if you eliminate Section 230, well, then Twitter's going to be like, I got to remove things that offend people, because then I don't want to be held liable for, this congressman, this very powerful official, being offended by a user on my site. So we're going to clean that up. We're going to kick everybody out, both right and left, by the way. This is going to be anyone who raises a stink. So the right's obviously going to get the boot the first, right? They're going to get the boot first. And then, of course, lefties who call out the system, who call out politicians, they're also going to get the boot. And what we're going to have at the end of the day is a 100% completely sanitized internet where nobody can say anything that could be offensive at all. So no, that's not good. That's really, really, really bad. A discourse online would be devastated. And again, do you think Twitter wants any of us online who call it politicians? No. No, they want to bring it back to where politics, because like this is the thing that blows my mind is since I'm on political Twitter, all right, that's all I see. That's my entire sphere. Political Twitter is actually a really, really small part of Twitter. The rest of it is like food pics. Oh, well, okay, maybe I'm thinking of Instagram on that. But it's like food pics, like random musings, you know, inconsequential stuff. All right. I mean, it's a very small part. So if Twitter could get rid of that, or, you know, if Facebook could get rid of those comment sections under news articles, for example, then, well, they would love to do that. And so it really, getting rid of Section 230 would be a way for them to really chill discourse online. And that would also prevent me from, and prevent all of us, I think, from publicly redressing our grievances, which is a right under the First Amendment, by the way, where we can redress our grievances to the government that doesn't represent us. And so Section 230, I think getting rid of that will also be considered unconstitutional, in my opinion. So anyway, all right. So now, Republicans that are in favor of this, people like Lindsey Graham, okay? Lindsey Graham says, oh yeah, let's get rid of Section 230, and by the way, we'll give $2,000 checks. Oh, that's a poison pill. There's no way. No. That said, there are other Republicans who just support the Cash Act. And this is, strangely enough, and I go after centrists all the time, okay? You know this from my show, if you've watched it at all. I go after the centrists, the problem solvers, right? I think problem solvers suck. They don't solve any problems because all they do is put forward half measures and Republican talking points. That said, Representative Tom Reed, the problem solvers co-chair, he said he's going to vote in favor. He's a Republican from New York. He's going to vote in favor of the Cash Act, that standalone $2,000 bill. Here's what he said in a statement. Quote, "The American people are hurting. Economic stagnation and lockdowns have left many in difficult financial situations. I've communicated to the president my support for his directive to increase the total size of stimulus checks to $2,000 per individual, and will be voting in favor of the Cash Act tomorrow to do so. It is only fair that we act decisively now to deliver the comprehensive relief individuals desperately need." So there's that. Pelosi also has a statement on this. The president must immediately call on congressional Republicans to end their obstruction and to join him and Democrats in support of our standalone legislation to increase direct payment checks to $2,000, which we brought to the floor. The legislation signed tonight, because she was tweeting this on Sunday night, is a down payment on what is needed to crush the virus, put money in Americans' pockets, and honor our heroes. We must quickly take further action to help Americans struggling to stay afloat during this historic pandemic and economic crisis. Okay, good. I mean, I don't have any problem with any of those statements. True, great. So you got the problem solvers on board. You got Nancy Pelosi who's pushing this. You got Chuck Schumer in the Senate. The Senate. That's the problem. Mitch McConnell. He so far hasn't said anything about this. Is he going to support this? I think he's going to block it. I think it's almost a guarantee that he is going to block this. At least without some sort of ghoulish measure added in by the Senate that would completely wreck the thing. Again, Section 230 is a great example of how Mitch McConnell could tank this entire thing. And so, because Mitch McConnell can't stand the idea of poor people getting money. So, yeah, you know what? Another one of you just brought up in the chat here, corporate liability. Okay, we'll give you $2,000, but you got to give us a corporate liability shield. That would immediately wreck negotiations. Would I put it past McConnell to do something like that? Nope, I would not. He is more than happy to do that. But then again, there is a little piece of leverage, and I really want to see Democrats really push hard on this because the control of the Senate is in the balance. You have John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock who are running in the special election in Georgia, or I'm sorry, not special, the runoff election in Georgia on January 5th. That's coming up. And that, again, would make a 50-50 Senate with Kamala Harris as tiebreaker. And so that would neuter Mitch McConnell and his ability to block things, at least by, simple majority. And so Mitch McConnell wants to keep control of the Senate. If he thinks that it's politically advantageous to let this go through, then there's a possibility that we could end up getting it. The thing is, I don't know the political calculations. I'm not inside the GOP or the Republican Party. I don't know the polls inside, the internal polls of Ossoff and Warnock or Loeffler and Perdue, who, by the way, do not support $2,000 checks. And so where's that political calculation? I have no idea where that's going to end up. What I do know is that politically, Mitch McConnell's not stupid. He is a Machiavellian genius. And so he is going to do things that are going to benefit himself, his power, and his party going forward. Now, if that means breaking with Donald Trump, then that's what he's going to do. If that means supporting $2,000 a month, that's possibly what he could do. So I don't know. If it also means poison pilling this or attempting to with liability shields or repealing Section 230, then that's what he would do if it's in his personal political interests. And so I don't know what is going to happen here. It really is, I think, in my opinion, a bit of a wild card what's going to happen with this vote. I just hope beyond hope that we can get this done. That the House can pass this today, and the Senate doesn't add any garbage into it and just passes a clean bill. I know it's a lot to hope for, but we really do live in unprecedented times. All right. Let me take a quick break here. Won't be but a couple minutes here. I've got to get a drink. I'm very thirsty. And we're going to come back. We have Lynn Wood going off the deep end. And then we're going to look at the PragerU pro-slavery video, which is always fun. All right. So anyway, stay right here. Round the Nation. We'll be right back in a minute.
It's like a Sharknado, except with poop.
I have not loved this conversation.
Amazing.
Welcome back to the show. Run the Nation, right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you today. So I just want to thank Boucher99 for the biddies over on Twitch. So our Twitch channel blowing up. Over 300, 300 follows. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you on YouTube as well my amazing YouTube family, YouTube, Twitch, all those different places. Thank you so much. All right, anyway. Oh, Dango Bango with the super chat here. Mitch is the Senate. I am the Senate. I had to say it. You know I had to say it. That's why you did it. John's Venn diagram of desire. Thank you for the gift subs. Wow. That is 5 gifted subs. Again, here we go.
Amazing.
All right, there we go. Didn't play for a second. Amazing. Thank you so much. All right. Trump attorney Lynn Wood is threatening to blow up the Georgia race. Now, how's he doing this? Well, he's going to encourage Republicans not only not to vote, but also is calling for the arrests of 2 of the candidates, plus the governor. And these are Republicans, by the way. So, fun. Lynn Wood shared a Christmas message on his Twitter account. And in it, he not only brought up, of course, more debunked attacks against Dominion voting systems, who famously got Fox News, Newsmax, and OAN to go and basically air this interview with a person who debunks all the claims that Lynn Wood and the Sidney, the Kraken, Powell are making against Dominion voting systems, as well as Smartmatic. But nonetheless, he persisted. So in this Christmas message, he, again, went with those debunked attacks. You know, like, oh, did you know the ghost of Hugo Chavez is trying to rig the election? Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's because it didn't happen. But also, again, tried to encourage Republican voters not to vote so that somehow Donald Trump could end up winning. All right, listen up, soy boys. This is how Trump can still win, okay? No, this is crazy. Here's some of the statement. The Georgia election fraud committed by anti-Trump rhinos Brian Kemp, Kelly Loeffler, and David Perdue against Donald Trump and Doug Collins was accomplished using the Dominion voting system's algorithm. Now, this image suggested the algorithm was extremely complex. Oh, because of course. But that it was never designed for unheard of levels of GOP non-participation. So I don't know if you can already tell where this one is going. It says that the algorithm will steal votes from the GOP, but there will be so few and heavily Democratic precincts that the GOP vote totals will go negative. Oh, can you imagine that? Negative votes for Perdue and Loeffler. And that'll show you the massive voter fraud. Yes, that's literally what they're saying. Don't vote, because if you don't vote, then the rigged algorithm will then, you know, take that and take votes away from Republicans, even though there's no evidence of that, right? And end up with a negative vote. And we got him. That we got him. This is how Donald Trump can win. Brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, yeah, okay, conservatives, go ahead, don't vote. And then, again, when they lose by massive numbers, they can say, well, see, they lost because of fraud. No, it's because you didn't vote. But see, here's the thing. Lynn Wood will then be able to continue with his garbage lawsuits. And so it's a guaranteed grift, I think, because for one, there's been no evidence of fraud by Dominion or Smartmatic. None, no evidence of this. So I think in reality, it's not going to go as planned. All right. But again, Wood and others, you know, Sidney Powell, for example, they're going to be able to say, well, see, it's rigged. Look at the low turnout, the low Republican voter, participation. Well, that's because you told people not to vote. It's almost like, it's like it goes back to the mail-in ballot thing, right? Everybody said, okay, well, Donald Trump keeps telling his fans not to use mail-in ballots. All right, well, so that means that mail-in ballots are going to be overwhelmingly Democratic. The logic, right? Logic and reason. And yet the Republicans, when the mail-in ballots came in, because, you know, most of the Republicans voted in person, and then when these mail-in ballots came in, they're like freaking out, like, oh my God, how could the mail-in ballots be all Democrats? Gee, I wonder why. Weird. And this whole thing was like, well, went by the name of like the Red Mirage, right? Where again, the in-person votes were more towards Donald Trump, obviously, and so those were counted first because they were in first, and then they took a while to count the mail-in ballots, which were overwhelmingly Democrat, and so this is something that we knew was going to happen, and they're saying, I can't believe this happened like this. What? Okay. Anyway. So they've got to be the dumbest people on the planet. The people who believe that there's this massive voter fraud conspiracy. Or at least the most gullible on the planet. But I'm not done. Here's what he said. This is the ultimate plan, right? So now if everything goes to plan for Linwood, right? And no votes, very few Republicans vote, and somehow the votes go negative, which will never happen. Because this is not a realistic situation. But here's what he says. The fraud will be so obvious the Supreme Court can then invalidate the presidential election. Real conservative senators can then be appointed after Kemp, Perdue, and Loeffler's arrest. Arrest! I'm going to arrest Republicans on voter fraud. Come on. But it's completely unhinged. It's insane. But you know what's funny? I actually do agree with the arrests of Loeffler and Perdue. Why? No, not because of this. Insider trading. Oh, no. These two senators put their stock portfolios over the lives of the American people. Again, Kelly Loeffler, her husband is the head of the New York Stock Exchange, Jeffrey Sprecher. So, and what they did is, again, she went to a coronavirus meeting in the government, and she was told how bad this could get. And the first thing she did is made a bunch of questionable stock trades. They didn't tell the American people. In fact, people that were in that meeting, I think including Ron Johnson, were like, "Oh, yeah, no, we've got everything under control here. Coronavirus, it's not really gonna, we're up to the challenge," when they were clearly not. And again, they made all these stock trades in things like PPE, disinfectant, things like that related to coronavirus. They made money, or they, at very least, safeguarded their investments. And then coronavirus tanked the economy. So no, that is definitely insider trading. They benefited from this massively. So yeah, I would be in favor of arresting them for insider trading. Absolutely. Brian Kemp, I wouldn't say arrest him, but he did massive voter suppression in his gubernatorial race against Stacey Abrams. I don't know if y'all remember that. He was Secretary of State. He was forced to resign from that position because of the scandal, okay, as a result. So nobody here is good. They're very bad people on all sides of this, right? But now, here we are with this insane civil war going on in the Republican Party, where these lawyers are pushing conspiracy theories, right, in order to grift cash from Trump supporters who can't handle the fact that they lost. I mean, they're just inhaling this hopium right now. Like, oh, no, this is how Donald Trump can still win. We're going to do, the next one is the Pence card, right? Mike Pence is being sued by Republicans for not saying that he's going to go out and invalidate the Electoral College votes. The quote-unquote Pence card. Oh, come on. Come on. And the reason I say grifter, of course, is because, well, look, there are conservatives that are getting suspicious of Linwood's motives. Why is that? Well, FEC, according to FEC reports, he gave money to Democrats. And Republicans are starting to realize this. he contributed to Democratic political candidates. FEC records indicate that he has given more than $40,000 to Democrats, including former President Barack Obama. So they're looking at that and saying, aha, Democrat plant. Aha! So is this a grift? Is it not a grift? I think it is. I think it's a grift for, from conservative rubes who have given hundreds of thousands of dollars, Donald Trump's re-election, or his election defense fund, which actually doesn't go to the lawsuits at all. Actually goes to the RNC in order to pay down, it goes to the RNC and also goes to pay down Donald Trump's campaign debts. So very little of that money is actually going to election defense. So I think if you're going to grift anybody, it would be Republicans. They're so much easier to grift. I mean, they'll fund just about anything related to Donald Trump. And so, it's, I don't know. Either Lin Wood is exceptionally insane and is grifting, or, exceptionally insane and stupid, or he's grifting, or maybe it could be a little bit of both. I don't know. But if this somehow gets Republicans to boycott voting in the Georgia race and actually hands the Senate over to Democrats, boy, would that be something. So by all means, Republicans, we keep telling you, no voter fraud, no voter fraud, no voter fraud, because you don't have any evidence of voter fraud. But if you still want to stay home, well, I guess, yeah, you stay home. Is it a grift or a double grift? I don't even know anymore. It's just so, I don't know. All right, moving on. I promised you the pro-slavery video. Let's do it. PragerU recently released a video. Now, PragerU, of course, is not a university in the literal sense, but they do put out some pretty good, slick, conservative propaganda. Last week, and forgive me for this because it's a little old, but last week they put out a video that in every way is pro-slavery. I mean, look, if you don't believe me, then just watch.
They want to make rich people poorer and poor people.
Who was Robert E. Lee? Statues of great historical figures, like Robert E. Lee, are being torn down across America. Here are some facts about Lee that remind us why his statue should remain. Robert E. Lee was connected to George Washington through his father, Light Horse Harry Lee, Washington's cavalry commander, and his wife, Martha Washington's great-granddaughter. Lee's home at Arlington House was just 10 miles from Washington's Mount Vernon. Today, it is the site of Arlington National Cemetery. After 30 years of military service, Lee led U.S. Marines to crush the attempted slave rebellion by radical abolitionist John Brown in October 1859. 21 co-conspirators had seized a federal armory, and all of them were killed or captured, including John Brown, who was tried and hanged for treason. Lee deemed slavery a moral and political evil in any country, but considered it a greater evil to the white man than to the black race, since blacks are immeasurably better off here than in Africa. Opposing secession, Lee foresaw no greater calamity for the country than a dissolution of the Union. But when Virginia seceded in a close vote, Lee resigned his commission. Despite offers to command Union forces, Lee opted to organize the defense of his native state. After 4 years as Confederate commander, Lee became an icon of reconciliation upon his surrender. As president of Virginia's Washington College, he favored education for freed slaves but opposed their right to vote. Lee died from a stroke in 1870 and is buried beneath Lee Chapel in what's now Washington and Lee University. His legendary warhorse Traveler rests in a plot nearby.
Whoa. Okay. So where do you really start? I guess I can start with saying that I don't give a shit about a racist horse. A racist's horse, not the horses. I don't think the horse is racist, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, who cares about the horse? I don't care about the horse. Okay, substantively, let's get to the substance, okay? So I mean, they're trying to make the argument that generally good because he and the Marines put down a slave rebellion. I don't like, how's that good? How's that good? That's bad. Like, we shouldn't have slave rebellions, or shouldn't have had slave rebellions, because we shouldn't have had slaves. I mean, it's pretty simple. They wanted to be free, and so they tried to be free. They tried to win their freedom. So I don't know if that's a good thing. That's really bad. All right, and then radical abolitionist John Brown. Okay, you know what? John Brown, super radical. He's totally tubular. Yes, being an abolitionist is fucking awesome. It's fucking rad. I would hope that everyone would want to be a radical abolitionist. I mean, come on. And not on the side of General Lee, who, again, it was like literally anti-American. I mean, he just helped secede from America. He fought against America. But then, you know, the video goes into saying things like, did you know he was related to George Washington? Who cares? Who the fuck cares? Guess what? George Washington also owned slaves. And sure, he did some good things, but he's also a slave-owning piece of shit. And so, as were a lot of them. And yes, if you own slaves, you're a piece of shit. And so I don't give a damn that he was related to George Washington. Ooh, how's that an argument in favor of keeping a statue of a literal traitor to the United States? Again, he chose his home state, Virginia, over who, by the way, voted to secede from the United States in order to keep human beings as property. Understand that point is very important. He chose to back a state that chose to keep human beings as property over the United States government. Over the United States, literally. That is an act of treason. Did they mention that? No, they didn't talk about that in that context whatsoever. No, they framed this Lee as a figure who was conflicted about slavery. Oh, he called it an evil. And so, oh yeah, slavery bad, even though I support slavery. And I support the country that does slavery. And so, all that stuff. I mean, in that same letter, by the way, that they quote, where Lee called it an evil, Lee said that the blacks are immeasurably better off enslaved in America than living freely in Africa. That was a quote. You saw that. Wow, that is some white savory bullshit. Okay. I mean, here they make the argument that, well, I mean, you know, lifting up the African American, the natives of Africa by brutally enslaving, torturing, killing, whipping, all that wonderful stuff. That is just great. Well, yeah, we love that. Here's a real quote. The painful discipline, this is generally, they are undergoing is necessary for their instruction as a race, and I hope will prepare and lead them to do better things. He added that only God knew how long their subjugation may be necessary, and that emancipation would only be brought by, would better be brought by the mild and melting influence of Christianity than the storms and tempests of fiery controversy. So basically, shut up, accept your lot. It's good for you that you will work for free and profit me while I get to do anything I want to you. But don't worry, it's for your own good. Because you were lesser than people and not actually people. Dude, come on. That is some racist bullshit right there. Totally racist. It's the whole argument, oh, we got to tame the savages. We're going to lift them up, though. Don't worry about that. But we're going to lift them up by doing free labor. and imposing our religion onto them. Aren't we great? Aren't we wonderful? Aren't we the white savior? No, that's not good. That's really bad. I cannot believe that this video still exists. That they didn't just completely like take this down and go, oh yeah, no, that was really bad. It was racist. We're real sorry about that. But no, the thing is that like this, it's straight up pro-slavery propaganda. It's right here. The masks are on the floor. They're in a pile getting set on fire. Okay, which again, that's what a lot of Republicans are doing to masks anyway. So I'm not surprised. But look, here's the thing. PragerU has put out some pretty big doozies, right? But this defense of General Lee is straight out of white supremacist rhetoric. Okay, to make this argument alone that it was better that white Europeans and Americans forcibly took Africans by ship, where many of them died, and then sold them at auctions into a lifetime, yes, a lifetime of slavery. By the way, their children were also born slaves and kept as slaves. That's different than, because I know there's this argument with conservative, but do you understand? White people also took other white people as slaves, and so, you know, there was indentured servitude. But generally, in those situations, their children and their children's children were not slaves. And so African chattel slavery, by far, is the worst examples of this because of how much they dehumanized black people in this and denied them any sort of rights and freedoms. And even after they were emancipated, they were still denied rights and freedoms because white supremacists do not believe that they were human beings in the first place. I mean, Jesus. And it's just, and they still try to make this ridiculous argument that, no, by the way, doing all that stuff is still better than leaving them in Africa. Really? Oh, I would disagree. I would definitely disagree with that. I mean, what else can you say about it? Okay, PragerU, this video alone, PragerU should win the award for most racist video of all time. Maybe not all time, but of 2020 at least, because there's been a lot of racist videos. It's just this one, this year, kind of takes the cake. Okay. That's all I got for you guys. That's all the time I got anyway. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream already. If you haven't, obviously subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitch. Thank you to the new follows here. Quiet Dragon April Dawn and Lucy Winterwolf, thank you so much. And again, thank you for those John Venn diagram of desire for those gifted subs. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Helps us out greatly. Patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Yeah, that's another way you can help us or become channel members. So lots of different ways to support independent progressive media to help us continue to spread our message and debunk terrible stuff. Because here's the thing, right? PragerU gets millions and millions of dollars. Like Koch brother, daddy, Coke daddy, is just dumping money on PragerU. And again, they can put out those real slick animated videos where they say horrible things. I mean, that's where that money's going. We got to compete with that, and we don't have near the resources to that. So, you guys helping us and keeping us on the air, I mean, that's amazing that you do that, and it helps out great, just greatly. So I can't thank you enough for doing that, through supporting us through all this time and through 2020 to help us fight against the juggernaut that is people like organizations like PragerU and Turning Point USA, and I'm looking forward to continue this fight into 2021. But we'll do all that stuff. Talk about that. By the way, it is a shorter week, so Wednesday is going to be our last day this week, and then we'll be back on the 4th. So just keep that in mind. I'll give you reminders both tomorrow and Wednesday. of the schedule and all that stuff. But anyway, thank you guys and gals. Much love to you. Again, my condolences for Mom Tech. She will be missed in the community. She's a wonderful person. Everybody else, have a safe and happy day, and we will see you tomorrow. Remember, change begins with you. See you all later.
It's like a sharknado, except with poop.
See your sunlights.
Wet ass keyword.
Thailand. Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Tolerate.
Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking